Rinpoche sembra che Gangshar nel caso la colonne la casa che va facendo certo tipo giungo con tipo renge con tipo Khenpo con non possono 가랑도 거네 요거기 와라 디나니 자 미사도 다방데 주 냠선에 베가서 라티브 친구 그노 마준로 노타도 냠베신이노디 데바 데완데 menде 바통나마 자고 바이 베처나 대처도라 동데 주 냠선에 베가 신진데나 펜다 버사와예 냠도 존준주도 투키네 세나로지.
Now, we are extremely fortunate at this time when we have achieved the precious human body with its pleasures and resources. Not only have we achieved that, we've also entered the gate of the Dharma. So at this time when we have such a great fortune, when we listen to and practice the Dharma, it is important that, as I mentioned yesterday, we have the proper motivation. We need to have one of the motivations of either the motivation of the lesser individual, the motivation of the middling type of individual, or the motivation of the greater type of individual, as I mentioned yesterday. And among these three, in particular, at the time when you're practicing the Dharma, it is important that we have the motivation of the greater individual. We need to realize that all of our mothers, all sentient beings who are as limitless as space, all want to be brought happiness. They all want to be freed from suffering, and so we must think that we want to do it ourselves, think that we are doing practice in order to benefit all of these sentient beings. And in this way, please listen with the motivation of bodhicitta.
Tukla pengere, tukla nyangla pengere, domba tabaje, jongsuma tang. Ni tanda ngusu hyojete karere zena Khenpo konghyarong buga ngorga tani, taramba yudamba hyojere la. Te dombo demba ye umunda zena, chitanga umunda zete demba yete, ta tikpa Khenpo tang, tikpa chumu, suma doje tikpa de namba song yebe nona, tikpa chumu ge namba tabaje. Chungu number of the Vede, Inaya, Zopusum Jumdin, Tatambo, Chuju Golo, Capsule, Suman Zeba in Number Sanji Big, Tavi, Hidra Vajeta, Number Sanji Big, Menoga Nig, Hidra Vaje, in Bichina, Tati, Kandichin, Suman, Dembaye, number la, Sumarilla, Dembaye, number Tela, Ponza, Goroata. Nyamso nembra jawa nyangin deba ni ta ngarato dungal tonta tarba tokko baje ta dungal de ponko baje imbecherna kanya toru ge chu don nozo nyangin debe chu ni sam ta kanya toru ge chu de la ya dungal hibra jawa to kunjum pon jawa samne ta tongko dungal de ngaraso dungal ge tawa da baje imbecherna Dungal de Dungal Yimbala He Guru Yabajeta, Dungal de Dungal Yimbala He, Tepong, Chedulakande Guru and Tijo, Kunjum Ledo Nemo Batin, Pongo Yabatat and the Temple Separe.
And as I explained the other day, sort of this introduction to the Dharma, I thought I would speak a bit about the natures of the Four Noble Truths. I thought that if I spoke about this, it would be beneficial for our minds and for our experiences. And then the actual topic of our teaching are the songs of Khenpo Gangshar Wampa, which we will be going through in order. So first I would like to speak about the Four Noble Truths. Now, the Four Noble Truths, we have the vehicles of the greater vehicle, the foundation vehicle, and the secret mantra Vajra vehicle. And of these three, the Four Noble Truths are like a form of teaching from the foundation vehicle. However, they are also the first Dharma that the perfect Buddha taught when he turned the wheel of Dharma. And in this way, they become like the basis of the view of Buddhism. They're like the basis for the critical points of all the pith instructions. That basis is the Four Noble Truths. And so in the Four Noble Truths, we talk about the two different aspects: samsara that must be given up, and nirvana that must be taken up or achieved. And so we need to free ourselves from suffering and achieve liberation. And so in order to do this, in order to free ourselves from suffering, we need to know what these all-afflicted, the all-afflicted dharmas are and what the utterly pure dharmas are. And among the all-afflicted dharmas, it is said that we need to know suffering and give up the origins. We need to know suffering, give up the origin. That means that we need to recognize that suffering is suffering. Fundamentally, we need to know that suffering is suffering. And once we recognize that suffering is suffering, then we need to give up its cause, which is karma and afflictions. And so this is what the Four Noble Truths teach.
Linsum to de Tadu Dela, Lintambo de Duman Hopper Dembo, then the Kajum Hopper Dembo, then the Gupa Hopper Dembo, then the Non Hopper Dembo, so the Daking all the tower. Atombo, then by Hibo de Yaw, then by Hibo de Tangaraso, Tombe Chu Juku, but Tombe Chu Juku, like Yoku, Junte, Candidate, and Dumato Targo. Dumanton Travate, Neka Dumanton Travaton Maimba, Tendo Dumale Tartabati Guria Batena, Tene, Tadumaton Trave Devate Tokugi Orella, Dumanton Trave Devato Bate, Neka Lodon Dava, Calvaton Maimba, Tendo Dumanton Travate Tokuba in Betena, Tene, Kunyan Kurvichu, Donozo Yang de Pichu, Sumarella, Kunyan Kurvichu. Nijo Tombo de Candidizena, Duman Hibersao, I think Tombo Mola Davade, Duman Papa Dembo, Sonny Mola Davarella. That is Zavala Davade, that Duman Papa Demba de Candidugui or Duman Hibersao, the Tangaras Duman Yunga Orella, Duman Tumani, but the Hakogi or Demba Tambo Zavala Dava. That in Devil Ladava de Candidizena, Duman Hibersao, he made something. That is Papa here, Yomare, the Hiku, Khenpo, the Hina, Natukan Devo Topere, Sumarella. That is Demba here, Linsom the Din, Tatombangarang Pete, Duman Dembala, Pegavare. That is in the Papa Dembaton. Gopa Papa Dembaton, Long Papa Demba Yevotella, Sunday, Demba Yali de Chucholo Corna, Rela, Niti Dunati Hippie, Chetola, Tangaranto Tanda, Chana, Karinanga or Zena, Ludu number Yegongi or Ludu number Yeti, Kandiki Chetola Gongi or Zena, Duman Hebrew Chetola Gongi or.
Now, when the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha repeated each of the Four Noble Truths 3 times. He said, this is the suffering that must be known. This is the origin that must be abandoned. This is the cessation that must be achieved. This is the path that must be practiced. And so he repeated each of the Four Truths 3 times. It's the first time he spoke them, he said, suffering must be known. So this is presenting the essence of each of the truths. So first he presented the essence. And so now that we have begun practicing the Dharma and entered the gate of the Dharma, what is the reason for that? The reason for entering the gate of Dharma and practicing is that we need to free ourselves from suffering. And when we free ourselves from suffering, it's not just temporarily freeing ourselves from suffering. We need to have lasting freedom from suffering. And likewise, we want to achieve the happiness that is freedom from suffering. And when we achieve this, it shouldn't be just for a few years or a few months or a few eons. It needs to be everlasting freedom from suffering. And so this is why he taught the 2 different types of dharmas, the all-afflicted and the utterly pure. And so what is the cause? What are the all-afflicted dharmas? First, we need to know suffering. So when we look at the essence, we say, this is suffering. Suffering is this. And And then when we know this is suffering, well, we need to know what is the action that we need to do. The action that we need to do is that we need to know what suffering is. We need to experience suffering, and we need to realize that suffering is suffering. And so that's the second repetition. The third repetition is looking at the result. If we know that this is suffering, there's nothing else that we need to know. If we know that this is suffering, then we will be able to achieve the ultimate result of our practice. And so this is why the Buddha taught each of the Four Noble Truths 3 times. Now I've given as an example, I have given the truth of suffering, how it's taught 3 different times, but it is the same for the truth of the origin, the truth of cessation, and the truth of the path. Each of the 4 truths were repeated 3 times, so the 12 repetitions in the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma. And so the first thing we need to know is we need to know suffering, and the way we do this in practice is that we do the preliminary practices of the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. So why do we do these 4 thoughts? Practice the 4 thoughts that turn the mind? We do them in order to know suffering.
Dungal Gangor, Sui Nine Higiore, Penatundrota, Dungal Mandeva, Yungiore, Dungal Dungal Higiore, Yenaya, Teso Maimba, Nineka, Deti Punso Dembadea, Sonji jumping Deji, Don't be choosing Gato, and Juruduma, Sumare, Neka Deji Punso Dembade, Revision, Deji Dembade. Deji non tembarete, deji che la tenda deva togliere ora vesina, tenda deva togliere mare. Alloca che dava che ne tate la deji non tembarena io te yalo je baje nyambro je baje dela teacherna deji te kare de na dungar garangi batte juru kasala ne dungar garangi bechna juru dungar sungi orela tangaranto tudunno bajendo la dungar te muri higi orela mo higi orede yena juru dungar de la de tom mu singi orela teta do bechna juru dungar ke loai ore juru dungar ke loai yune tela joy hine ne tombe juye na yo drummodoba tende dewa yena yo tomodoba tatende yungi orela teta do cherna tela juru dunga se tatanda de tipo so boto tembare ete yena ya tela tendo dewa yungi orela ne yungi mare kaptela nyamro ga dola dunga telo ngi juru de son akwa ko parela teacher na deji la choyi me ba go ba yin betena dunga yin ba ki ba taware.
Now, do we only experience suffering in the place of samsara? Well, we don't. We do experience pleasure. We can experience perfect and great pleasure. But for this is why the Buddha taught that there are 3 different types of suffering. The 3 different types of suffering are the suffering of change, and the pervasive suffering of formation. So the suffering of suffering is pain that we recognize as suffering. Everyone recognizes this as suffering. Even animals know that pain is suffering, and no one needs to tell them. But that's not the only type of suffering. When we do experience temporary pleasures and happiness, temporary prosperity and excellence. And the Buddha, when he taught the Dharma, called this the suffering of change. So are the pleasures and happinesses, are they temporarily, are they pleasurable, are they excellent and wonderful? They are. Yes, they are pleasurable. But are they everlasting? They are not. They'll last maybe a few years, maybe a few months. They'll last for a while, but then they will dissipate and they will disappear. And so when they change, what are those sufferings? Well, their nature at that point becomes suffering. So that at the point that they change, there is suffering, and so this is called the suffering of change. So normally we very easily recognize the suffering of suffering as being suffering. This is easy to see, but we do not recognize that the suffering of change as being suffering. And so for this reason, we are deceived by the suffering of change. Because of this, we get a lot of attachment and fixation on our pleasures. And these attachments and fixations prevent us from practicing the Dharma and prevent us from achieving the ultimate result. And so we need to recognize this suffering of change. At this point, that pleasure may well be suffering, but will it be? This pleasure may well be pleasure, but will it be pleasure later? It will not. At some point, it will disappear. At some point, it will wane, and so we need to recognize that it is suffering. And we need to recognize this in order that we do not get fixated on our pleasures. And so for that reason, we need to recognize or understand that they are suffering.
Nintela choyin te don mche wa ru yore kare te na ko juru ka so ga tene dumna te ra ki juru yore la teacher na acha anda juru dumna te mo hi ko ba che na ni te jando ne ka de na yon ra dumna chong na yon ra ton jo sun ne na yon ra te che to so ji ko ru ki chu se ke te tu don na ba jando la jon ro Neji jini na yung jorndrowa, no jeje jini na yung jorndrowa, ate de rang lui na yung tambo sipe ke kata, teni jenu ke kata, teni tala baba kata, teni geji ko kala soba, rimbe ke jorndrowa chuji je impe cherna, chapa to jije tumna sumbe yara, pin jite kontan je la chapa impe cherna, teta jite chu koru ke chu so jite chu tangi Chapan to jite tumna ke bala higu ba te teta tumna samje no him bala higu ba la teacher na tumna hibar jao sumare.
For the sake of such temporary pleasures, we waste our lives. We're happy we're pleased when we get them. We then fall under their control when we get them. We become fixated upon them, and so we should really not be so fixated upon them. We need, and the reason is that they will change, and when they change, their nature will become suffering. So we need to recognize the suffering of change. And the third type of suffering is that whether something is temporary pleasure, or whether it is temporarily painful, or whether it is neutral, all defiled samsaric phenomena are changing from instant to instant. They're continually changing. Whether it is the external world environment, whether it is the sentient beings inside the environment. If we look at our body, for example, it's changing constantly from the time we were little children, to the time we were youths, to being adults, to getting to old age. They're always changing, and that continual change is what we call the pervasive suffering of formation. We call it the pervasive suffering because it is suffering that pervades all of the different world realms, and it is something that we need to know. And so these three types of suffering are suffering by their nature. And so this is why it is taught that suffering is what we must know. And so among the Four Noble Truths, this is know suffering. And so if we know suffering, what is the benefit? The benefit is that in the future we will be able to free ourselves from suffering. We will be able to eliminate our suffering. And so that is why we need to know suffering. There is nothing else that we need to know.
certo tanta cara tenho inho certo niente tanto cate calciare sono di tempo di giocare non sono della tenho di caso calciare marete yenaya dangarato sono oggi di più da la care nangue ora na cade tenho di calciare nangue ora ti giocende candidere na cade sono di tempo di bonza su mola server sono io vai in becerna ne sanje je ka de la tong de se na ne ka ka de so yo pa te da ni de se na ta tu ka de so yo pa ta de ma bo yo de la ni de na ra so ga de tong de ni de che tu yo ma de la ni de se wa de ni ja ga je pe lu tong ji de ya bo te pa ga ba ba lu tong bo ba tu me la so ko no de ya bo te yo ba yin becerna ni de gonda de so tor debatendo sur tu kappa debatendo sur ten ne domatendo salvorzi ne sono in betena cale tenju calcio ateta tenju le jo dama calcio rela dama sunte dela dangaran so nyama pembe dama kare imbate ka sono in betena tenju de ta ja jebe ke sedola tenju tombare kebe ke ta ja jebe ke sedola tenju sono de Teta mai ba dhamma dengara ka tu pa la ka phe je so ai betena dhamma se ne marje yonji se de tera ta perna mar da je na mar dhamma zo ga banai dhamma de dhamma ja sabor so ga ba ai betena dhamma marje yonji yo so ai bata.
Next, among the different songs of Khenpo Gangshar, I'd like to explain the second, which is the oral instructions, the refined essence of butter. And so when we say oral instructions, we generally in the Buddhist teachings, we have two types of teachings. There are the words of the Buddha and there are the treatises. Now, of course, the words of the Buddha are extremely important. These are what the Buddha actually taught. And in this respect, the treatises are not as important as these words of the Buddha. However, when the secret mantra Vajra spread, we actually consider the treatises to be more important than the words of the Buddha. And the reason we consider this is that the words of the Buddha were taught in various different instances to match the needs of specific individuals at specific times. And so sometimes the Buddha would teach things that are the guiding or the expedient meaning, and sometimes he would teach things that are the definitive meaning, the ultimate meaning. The guiding meaning means those things that are temporarily beneficial. The definitive meaning things means the actual ultimate meaning. And sometimes it's difficult for us to distinguish, well, what is the guiding meaning? What is the ultimate meaning? And so in order to distinguish what is guiding from what is definitive, the great masters of India, such as the great noble Nagarjuna and the noble Asanga, distinguished these and wrote their treatises. They gathered all of the intent of the Buddha, and they gathered what was scattered in various different places into one systematic presentation. They brought out what was implicit within the Buddha's teachings. And so for that reason, in the secret mantra Vajrayana, we often consider the treatises more important than the words. But more important than the treatises are the oral instructions, because the oral instructions are those oral instructions that are given at a specific time in order to help our experience. The treatises give presentations of many different things. They present them clearly, but it's not like they're saying you must do this at exactly this point. Whereas the oral instructions are saying, okay, this is what is helpful for you at this point. And so this is what we mean by the oral instruction. And the oral instructions here are called the refined essence of butter. So the refined essence of butter is really pure, sincere butter with all of the impurity taken out. So this is just like the real, pure oral instructions, that it's only giving the real oral instructions.
Aranso, Savama Bebe, Katin Timboreva, Katin Timbo Karesena, Angaranso Karigo, Dumaton Tago, Karigo, Deji the Toko, Dumaton Tawa, Nega, Dumaton Tawa, Nega, Dumaton Tawa, Tomaimba, Tendo, Dumaton Tawa, Jeda, Deji Toba, Nega, Deji Toba, Tomaimba, Tendo, Deji Toba de Gugio, Pisuka in Latin, Nanto Giores, Lama Latin, Nanto Giore, Lamega Cadit, Nangiores, and Lamega Chusu on Latin, Tombe Chusu on Latin, Tombe Chute, Lamaison, Lamaison on Latin, Rangi Yonsolon, Yonsolon Latin, Saturday, the Auto Tento to Nala Travage, Jungiore, La, Telmet Mato, Yin Rantok, Tateta, Mamdi, to Giore, and Yesurio Marella, Junti Ticerna, Tinja Lama, Tinja Lama, Sorota Parella, Tinja Lama de Candidate, Jitin Paru, and Payone, Pakinda Wote, Imbala, Ranka Tombo, Pate, Luigi Petain, Lusamo Tebet, Lusamo Tebegatain, non chien, Tamo Tebegatain, La Sopa, Kati Timbo in Veterna, Tata Dangarato, Nojunina, Christian, Padar, Segi Orella, Tataruni, Natandangarato, Lama Pate, Pacino, Tachik, Kimbaji Naruti, Pinta Lama Chekina, Nai, Neta, Kimbaji Naruti.
These instructions open with a supplication. Father, think of me. Very kind Guru, think of me. Grant your blessings to subdue my ego clinging. So it says the very kind Guru. And the reason why the Guru is so kind is that what we need is to be freed of suffering. We need to achieve happiness. When we are freed of suffering, we don't need to be temporarily freed of suffering. We need to be. We need to have lasting freedom from suffering. And when we gain happiness, we don't need to gain happiness temporarily. We need to gain everlasting happiness. And whose kindness can this come about from? It comes from the kindness of the Guru. The Guru teaches the Dharma. And because the Guru teaches the Dharma, then the Guru teaches the Dharma, we practice it ourselves, and then we will be able to achieve the ultimate happiness, the lasting happiness. We will be able to free ourselves from suffering and have lasting freedom from suffering. And so, would we be able to find the path by ourselves, under our own power? We would not. And so for that reason, it is the Guru who teaches it to us, and so it is a very kind Guru. So it's a very kind Guru here. Then also he's called our Father. And so this is saying, who is it who is kind to us? It's our Father, because in the beginning, the Father benefits us throughout. First, when our body is conceived, the body is conceived through the kindness of the Father. When we are educated, it's because of the kindness of our fathers that we are educated. This is something even in the world we see. In the Christian religion, we also talk about Father as being kind to us. And so here we are saying that our Guru is like a father. And it's saying, Guru, know me. You know me. Kind Guru, please know my situation. Know how I am.
Tangarama Zaini, Karikugi or Sena, then Jig Donzin Tulu, Singilo, Sumarella, Jig Donzin Tulu, the Candidate Sena, Certo, Tata Nangaranzo, Dumatin, the Trovaton, Devatin, the Topate, Good Tela, Candidate Kugi or Sena, Nijo, Mikewa Pumajena, Gavatra Kugi or Gavatra Latine, Senam Jutu. Taking the Dipamakiwa Pone, Tatum Sunga, Korwatum Sunga Tumame, Tatapaji Gubi or Ella. Deta Lesa Patella Karikubi or Sena, Yemon Papon Gubi or Yemon Papon or Sebala, Yemon Parangiti, Khalid Yartubi or Sena, Yartubi or Maringaran, Koratuma Meban, Yemon Pala, Comi or Ella, Yemon Petawa de Pangubi or Yemon Petawa de Candis Pangi or Sena, Donzin Turvala. Yemu Petawa, the daughter of the Balatine, Tangaranta Tempo Naran Deji Toku, Naran Tumaton Targu, some dancing the Khenpo Yabalatene, Yamova the Jegi Yorella, Tisa dancing the Ponta Bajago Yore, dancing the Pona, Yamova Jegi Yore, Yamova Jana, Laying and Batin Sapanga Yore, Laying and Bapona, Tumaton Tawa, Deji Toba Yungu, Tarvata Tonji Compon Toba Yungu Yorella, Tisa dancing Pongu Yore, dancing Ponta Bajago, dancing Tonta Bajago, New Bajago. Nupaton Sena Rochi, Sejogi Orella, Danzin Toluga, Candisi Turgi Oresena, Danzin Toluga, Damona Bayi, Sony Orella. Take Domino Pishira, the Dot Cavallo, Yapu, Tadi, Dot Marangumola, Sem Dama in Paton, Blue Dama in Palaso, Yapu, the Dodges in the Dot Member Topatella, Domino Pishira, Yalatini, Danzin Ponte, Tini tanta ngara tsu tujon tu nyoni nama ka so lo jong ka me ma la tene tini tanta jo je ba de ati ka ne number je be don de long de be tama se tini ngara tsu de tu ton ne mi ba la so ba se ne don de ndalo ge ta ba lo jong ka me ma la tene don de ndalo tini do ye ba ta ta ke de yin ye ba ta ta ke ne do yin je wa do yin nyam ba la so ba gon ne pon se be ge ta la tene dancing Torvate, Jay dancing Torvate, Singilo, Nisa Lamaga, Katina, Tavilamic, Zay, Dama de Nongorella, Dama de Non, Dama de Janson, Dama de Janson, dancing the Toro, dancing the Tornado Contevate, Totova Jumbriorella, Titerna, Jay dancing Torvate, Singilo, Siswang.
So we have to ask the Guru to think of us, to know us, and when they saw us, to see. And then when the Guru sees us, what do we need from the Guru? So grant your blessings to subdue my ego clinging. So subduing ego clinging, when we think if we want to free ourselves, gain the lasting freedom from suffering and gain lasting happiness, how do we do that? Well, we need to give up the cause of suffering. We need to give up the cause of suffering, and we need to give up the cause on virtuous actions and practice virtuous actions. If we practice virtue, then we will achieve happiness. If we give up unvirtuous, we will ultimately free ourselves from the dangers of the lower realms. And in order to do this, what do we need to do? We need to give up the afflictions. But will the afflictions just naturally go away on their own? They won't. We have been habituated to them from beginningless samsara. And so we need to eradicate them entirely. In order to eradicate them entirely, we need to give up the root or the basis for them. And the basis for them is ego clinging. So ego clinging is thinking, I'm important. I need to be happiness. I need to be free of suffering. From thinking like this, we then cling to an ego, and because of that, we are not able to give up the afflictions. If we do not give up ego clinging, we will not be able to free ourselves. So we need to give up the ego clinging. If we do that, then that will subdue the afflictions, and if we tame the afflictions, then we will not accumulate bad karma, and by doing this we will practice virtue, and we will gain happiness and achieve the ultimate result. And so we need to eliminate our ego clingings. This is asking the Guru, please give me the power to subdue my ego clinging. Give me the power give me the blessings to subdue my ego clinging. So how is it that we can subdue the ego clinging? There are two different types of instructions. The first is through the prajna, through the intelligence or prajna of realizing selflessness. This is realizing that no matter if we look for ourselves inside or out, if we see is there a self inside or outside our body, we cannot find any self. When we realize that, we see that there is no self, and that generates the prajna that realizes selflessness, and by this we can give up the ego clinging. But normally what we practice are the instructions on mind training, such as the instructions on mind training that came from Atisha. And these are the instructions of taking ego clinging as the path. So in the instructions on mind training, we pretend that there is a self. We take that there is an other. And by taking this as a basis that there is a self and an other, then we practice equality, we meditate upon the equality of self and other, and on exchanging self from other. And in this way, we'll be able to reduce and eliminate our ego clinging. And so grant your blessings to subdue my ego clinging means that we're praying to the very kind root guru to see me, to know my situation, to give me the instructions so that I'll be able to subdue my ego clinging and then be able to achieve the ultimate result. So grant your blessings to subdue my ego clinging. Now, following this, the various instructions are then given in order. And it begins saying, when the 8 worldly dharmas have been eliminated, then the deceptive sense pleasures will have no power over you. So generally, when we want to practice the Dharma, we want to practice the Dharma, but often we're distracted from practicing the Dharma, or we're distracted from it. And what distracts us from practicing the Dharma are the sensory pleasures. This is like wealth, food, friends, prosperity, and so forth. These deceive us. They are deceptive. And so we need not to be deceived by this. We need to we need not to be deceived by them in order to practice. So we must not have any attachment or fixation on them. So what is the method of this? The method of this is that we need to eliminate the 8 worldly dharmas, or we need to suppress the 8 worldly dharmas. Now these 8 worldly dharmas, or the 8 worldly concerns, are concerns that happen in the world. That's why they're called the 8 worldly concerns. And they're explained by the great master Nagarjuna in his letter to a friend. Now the letter to a friend is a teaching that could either be for monastics or it could be for householders. And this is a teaching that is primarily given for householders. And among householders, there are those who are prosperous and who are wealthy and prosperous, and those who are not so wealthy and prosperous. And it's given for those who are prosperous and wealthy. It was given by Nagarjuna for his friend, the king Deche Sampo. So he is the one for whom he originally gave these instructions. And what it says is you must give up attachment to gain, pleasure at gain and unhappiness at loss. Being pleased, being happy about pleasure and displeased with pain. Being happy with fame and unhappy with, or being happy with when praised and unhappy when criticized, and being happy when famous and unhappy when not. So these are the 8 worldly concerns, and these are concerns that come up in our minds in the world. And so these are being. So the first of these is that when we get something, then we are happy. When we don't get things, then we are unhappy. So this happens in the world. It happens especially among prosperous people. So these are the first 2 of the 8 worldly concerns: being happy when you get something and unhappy when you don't. The second set of 2 concerns are being happy when you experience pleasure and being unhappy when you experience pain. So these 2, that makes 4. Then there is being happy when you are famous or popular and unhappy when you are not. That makes 6. And then being happy when you are praised and unhappy when you are censured. So that makes a total of 8. So these are the 8 worldly concerns. And these, there's a danger that these will increase, especially for people who are wealthy and prosperous. And so it is important that that these 8 worldly dharmas do not stick their heads out. The Tibetan here says when the 8 worldly dharmas have been eliminated, which is one sense. It literally means when they don't stick their heads out. So when they sort of stick their heads out, then then there's the danger that we will that they will gain power of us. So we need to suppress them. And so the 8 worldly concerns, if we are able to eliminate them, then we will not be deceived by the sensory pleasures. And so for that reason, we need to first eliminate the 8 worldly pleasures. when bad conditions are not abandoned, there is no doubt there will be obstacles to sitting. So there are bad conditions that happen, and when they happen, if we get angry or feel aversion to them, if we think, I need to eliminate this, I need to get rid of them, this is a thought. So a coarse thought. We think, I need to eliminate this, I need to get rid of this. Then that thought is what we need to get rid of. We do not need to to eliminate the bad conditions. Ultimately, they will not make an obstacle to us achieving the ultimate result. When you stop trying to get what you desire, then the obstructing eight worldly dharmas will lose their charm. So the eight worldly dharmas, as I explained before, make obstacles for us to practice the dharma. These are the primary obstacles to practicing the dharma. How do they do this? Well, these thoughts, the eight worldly dharmas, happen in our mind. We become overly enamored of the sensory pleasures, and we think, I need these. I think I need to have the wealth, the food, the jewels, and the friends, and so forth. And if I don't have them, I won't be happy. So we need to not let that happen. Instead, we need to have, because if we have great desires, then the eight worldly concerns will occur. And so we need to, so if we stop having the desires, then we will not have these thoughts. So always keep these points in mind. If we are able to always keep such points in our mind, then our Dharma practice will go well. As for those obstructions in staying in practice, you can ask yourself about your own pleasure and pain. So there are the obstructions that prevent us from doing practice, and strayings where we take the wrong path or we mistake the path. And as for these, we can ask yourself about your own pleasures and pains. So what is the root of it? It is pleasures and pains, or you could say likes and dislikes. And so when you get, these are thoughts that happen in the mind. So our likes and our dislikes, our pleasures and unhappiness comes from our mind. So whatever pleasures and pains, let them be as there are. Or whenever you are aware, you could translate this line differently. Whatever your pleasures and pains, instead of translating it like that, you could say, when you are aware of pleasure or pain, or like or dislike, let them be as they are. So why should you just let them be as they are? Well, pleasure comes from what you like. It's when you think, oh, I want this is good, I want that, and you get it, then you feel pleasure. Pain comes from what you don't want. I don't want that. And you think, I don't want that, and that brings you the pain. But these pleasure and pain are like the illusions in the mind. So it's just various different thoughts that occur in the mind, wanting this, not wanting that, and that is where the pleasure and pain, or the likes and dislikes, come from. They are like the skies in the cloud. Their nature is in the mind. Their nature is just like a cloud in the sky. And as a cloud, just like a cloud in the sky, then they will dissipate in the sky. And so when you experience them, you just need to let them go.
You'll Madupa Tepete, you'll send a Mandepa, Madupa Tepete, Nissan Carichoa Yungresena, Dumaki Gene, Tatil Caricoresena, TG Sola and Roni Mare, Tela Pati de Coco Resena, Teocoa Gugio Mare, Tingona, Sembalete, Gana, Gaduki Children, the Yaldo.
And so when we encounter these, the joy or the pleasure and the pain, then what do we need to do? When you encounter an attractive object and pleasure arises, let your mind be as it is. Or you could translate this as relax in the nature. And so what happens is we encounter a nice object, we feel happy about it, and that brings pleasure. Now when we experience that pleasure, should we follow that pleasure? No, we should not follow that pleasure. But should we stop that pleasure? No, we shouldn't block it either. Instead, we just should relax in the nature, and just relax and rest in there. And then that aspect of pleasure in the mind will just naturally disappear, dissipate. Likewise, when you encounter an unattractive object and pain arises, let your mind be as it is. Or again, you could translate that as pain arises, relax in the nature. So when this happens, when you encounter something ugly or unpleasant and pain arises, then you just relax in the nature. There's no need to follow it. There's no need to stop it. You just relax within the nature, and it will dissolve on its own. So this is what we should do when we experience the pleasure or the pain.
Corona Kari, Yapate, Tarta Jambrica Pate, Majuni Maron, Johibe, Senden Young Kaki Jorico, Send the Tent, Gombala Kebatan, Tiki Tent, Jonto Bajagugi or Zuanella, Teacher Na, Detabo, Namtu Romba, Namtu, Kansuma Moana, Romba Solena, Rondoli, Neroni, Kipoldo.
When there is a storm of thoughts, if you let them be in the natural state, that is liberation. So when there's a storm of thoughts, when we have many different thoughts of pleasure or pain, and many different thoughts happen, they gather and they swirl about within our minds, and there are these churning thoughts in our minds, then if you let them be in the natural state, that is self-liberation, or you could translate this a little bit differently. If you relax letting them be, that is they are self-liberated. Excuse me for a moment. If you relax letting them be, they are self-liberated. When there are many coarse thoughts that happen in our mind, when we think about different things, then if we relax and let them be without altering them, then they naturally will be liberated of their own. And then we should just rest within that nature. There is no need to change them in any way at all. It is as is said in the Vajra lineage prayer, non-distraction is the body of meditation as it's taught. As ones who, whatever arises, rest simply, not altering. So whatever occurs, whatever thoughts occur, we just rest without altering them in any way, as not altering in just that fresh essence of thoughts. We just rest, letting them be in that fresh essence of thought. There's no need to think, oh, this is emptiness, and have some sort of a mentally contrived thought of emptiness. We don't need to think this is not emptiness and have some mentally contrived idea of there not being emptiness. We just need to rest in the nature of the mind as it is, just resting as it is, and relaxing and resting within that, and then we'll be naturally liberated. So please grant your blessings so that our meditation is free our meditation is free of what is the word? Conception, yes. And then the next quote comes from the aspiration from Mahamudra, the aspiration of Mahamudra by the third Karmapa Rangchun Dorje. So without being moved by the winds of ordinary diversion, so whatever it is that happens, we should just rest in the way things are, not trying. We shouldn't, and without the efforts of contrived meditations. We should not have the effort of making our meditation trying to make something that is make it into something that is empty. We shouldn't have the effort of trying to make it into something that is clarity. And without any mental contrivance of trying to make it into something empty or something clear, we should just rest in the nature of the mind as it is. And in this way, we will not be moved by the wind of ordinary distractions. So whatever thoughts happen, we just relax in them as they are, and we are not blown about like blown about in the wind. And so we just rest within that. And then the aspiration is, may I be skilled in the practice of resting in the nature of the mind. And so may we be able to meditate in this way. So these are some very profound instructions that are given here. When there is a storm of thoughts, if you relax, letting them be, they are self-liberated. So if you just relax as they are, then they will naturally liberate themselves. And this is a profound oral instruction.
Narang Khenchen Nontok Nepala Sopon Khenche, Rong Sama, Jito Tiena, Anjito Jewa, Nyamo Pajewa Sopona, Karigu Yoresena, Tika Solano Ronsar, Lela Yore, Tela, Natamo Catendo, Sandele, Combate Calci Yore, Taronsar Lepandele, Dhamma Samo Dehi Burjame, Tat Ramsala Lella Kandi, Jin Yamba Chona Yunda, Jin Zongo Chona Yunda, Sana Gawa Chona Yunda, Sana Dunga Chona Yunda, Montare Yon, Tene Tanda Ramsala Lepandele, Ying Dhamma Samo Dehi Burjame, Tati Mondo, Gona, Pe Kalchempore.
So when outer and inner conditions, so when there are the outer conditions of disturbances in the natural world, the external world, the four elements, or when there are inner conditions such as various thoughts and things in your own mind, and when these give rise to fears in your mind, it says, let it be as it is. You could also translate this as just relax within it. Relax as they are, relax as it is. So when the outer and inner conditions occur and give rise to the fears in your mind, just relax and let them be as they are. So this is whether there are fear or afflictions in your mind, what you need to do is just relax as they are. The instruction to relax is extremely important. Now, except for letting the mind be as it is, or except for letting the mind to relax, I have no other profound oral instructions to impart. So no matter what happens, whether there's something good that arises, something bad that happens, whether you feel joy or whether you feel pain, no matter what occurs in your mind, you should just relax as it is. And other than that, there are no instructions. And this is extremely important.
Yedu Senti Tamanga, Jena, Deju, Lu Yong, Atkakala, Yam Jalai, Kerem La Sopa, Kundu, Chonsin, Yin, Chalu, Vedum, Bezer, La Sopa, Tende, Gombe, Kerem Segi, Kerem Jatamayo, Yore, Yankakala, Zorem Se, Kerem Galatim, Suru, Dune, Tony Jimon, the Yellow, Tony Jimon, the Yalne, Chuta Jia Maba, Chuji and Jeron, the Nambrika, Zorem, Memayo, Yore, La, Tateta, the Jerem, the Zorem, Yabaton, the Yamasi, Senti Jatamayo, Yore, Sonju to Senti, Members on Juju Santo, Jupas on Juju Santi, La Sopa, Sonju to Senti, Senti, Tumale, Jabaton. Devatonde Sonju Senti Pala Sopa, Tamanga, Tina, Tijulu, Yejon, Tantana, Tina, Tijulu, Yejon, Tinsonga de la Ruba Chong, Hatinsonga de la Teta, Pajon Rabota, Yoninda Bosito, Gangrela, Tele, Ranga Sente, Nelu Catem, Yambarigotna, Timema Cheperton Papa Yubicherna, Tinsonga Tuna, Jerem Dozorum, Senti, Tomatin. Jachembo ki, Jachembo ha, Jachembo trade condition and Guba Chunga Yore, Shana Pudu Jatamate, Sente, Paparu Tribamon, Nindamandra Manda, Perna Samandra Mandata, Savata, Nintajan the Pudu Bate, Punandra Mandatune, Tama Punandra Mandatune Kuzo Ala Sopata, Tamate. Sente Papa Tribamon, Tamambo, Tage Mambo Motana, Mambo Motina, Tigre Damate, Sente Sur Pemba Tonta, Pemba member, Tila Partribro, Mambo Yungo, La Titina, Tamambo Gubayo Mare, that was my internet.
If even some oral instructions on the Utpatikrama, Sampanakrama, and arousing bodhicitta are written down, there is definitely a lot one could write. So there are instructions on the Utpatikrama, or the creation phase, the practices of visualizing yourself as a deity, visualizing the form, the art, the implements the deities hold, visualizing various lights, and so forth. So this is the creation phase, or the Utpatikrama. And there are many instructions on this. There are also instructions on the Sampanakrama, or the completion phase. This is when you dissolve the visualization or the creation phase, and it all disappears into emptiness, and you rest in the unborn nature of all phenomena, or the emptiness of all phenomena. If you rest in equipoise, there are instructions for resting in equipoise on this. Not only that, there are instructions on arousing bodhicitta. So these are the instructions on arousing bodhicitta and the aspirational and engaged bodhicitta and so forth, thinking to yourself that you must develop bodhicitta in order to free all sentient beings from suffering and so forth. So there are many different instructions. There's quite a bit that one could write. There are different aspects that one could write about. But there's little need for these. These days, there's the opportunity to study or practice these instructions is rare. It is better instead to just rest within the nature of your mind, meditating on the nature of your mind. And the various instructions on the creation, completion phase, and the arousing bodhicitta, there's not much need to teach them or explain them. And if you do, there's not much benefit to teaching them. And then the next line reads, in the English it says, if the oral instructions are collected like hairs from various meats. It's actually a little bit different. Different in the Tibetan. It's kind of hard to figure out. It's like these instructions of various meats and of gathering various meats and types of fiber. So what this means is like when you have a meal and you have all sorts of different meats, all sorts of different foods together, or when you are making a cloth and you're using the fiber or the hairs from various different types of animals to try to make the cloth, and you're gathering all sorts of different fibers to weave into a cloth. These are what the instructions are like. There are all sorts of different instructions in picayune, difficult instructions, and these many picayune different types of instructions are not very beneficial. They're not really helpful to our mind. In fact, they will just obscure our mind. Then your mind will gradually have many obstructions. So we do not need so many different types of oral instructions. So if we listen to many different types of instructions, then we won't bring any of the practices to completion. You listen to one instruction, then you listen to the next instruction, then you get the third instruction. You practice a little bit, but you don't finish your practice. Then you move on to the next instruction. You practice it a little bit, but don't finish it. You move on to the third. You don't practice. You finish it, but don't finish it. And that just creates more and more thoughts. And so this is why your mind will gradually have many obscurations. You'll have too many obscurations, too many thoughts, and so you won't be able to achieve the ultimate result, or you won't be able to get to the end of the practice. And so this is the fault that can occur. So this is the reason for just having one oral instruction at a time. Instead of having a lot of different instructions, if you just get one instruction, then you ask for the instruction, you get the instruction, then you listen, then you actually put it into practice, and you practice that, you take good care of your mind to practice it mindfully, then you will achieve the ultimate result of that. So you get one instruction and you practice it and follow it all the way to its conclusion. Then you get the next instruction, you follow it all the way to its conclusion. And if you do that, you will be able to do it well. Other than that, if you have many different, if many are explained, there will be little understanding, as it says on the top of page 3. So if you have instructions on emptiness, instructions on the creation phase, instructions on the completion phase, then you have, if you know too many instructions, then they are of little benefit. So now it is always important to rest in the great natural state. So it is as it is said in the Vajra lineage prayer. Non-distraction is the main practice of meditation. So if you rest in the nature of whatever arises, not altering your own mind, just resting within the nature of your mind as it is extremely important. So this is the oral instruction for the great enhancement. So sometimes when we're practicing samadhi, we're not able to increase our samadhi. In order to increase our samadhi, what we need are the instructions on enhancing our samadhi. And what are the instructions for enhancing our samadhi? It's just resting, letting be, that very instruction of resting, letting be. This is the oral instruction for great enhancement. This is the oral instruction for not straying. So sometimes what happens is that we stray from the path. And the instruction for when this happens is just to rest, letting our mind rest in the nature of the mind, letting it be as it is without changing it in any way. This is the superior pith instruction for not straying. So this is actually exactly the same as is taught in the aspiration for Mahamudra by the third Karmapa Rangchung Dorje. He says, appearance is mind, emptiness is mind, realization is mind, confusion is mind, arising is mind, cessation is mind. May I be able to rest in the meditation, may I be able to cut through all projections. So when things arise, that is merely the mind. When appearance is merely the mind. Emptiness is just the mind. When things arise, that is also just the mind. When things cease, that is also just the mind. It is all just the mind. And so for that reason, we need to rest within the nature of the mind as it is without altering it in any way. There is no better instruction. And so this is the oral instruction for not straying. This is the meaning of these two lines is exactly the same. This is the oral instruction for not straying. This is the oral instruction for cutting wandering and confusion. Wandering here you can translate as distraction. So sometimes we get distracted, and we get because of that distraction we feel confusion. And so the instruction for cutting through or severing this distracted confusion is this same pith instruction.
Tene rang tingen dam pon dam batam. Korsa me batam. Yen truba pon to ke tamo yen bete na ronda pon to banjung goyo. Te yen. Ai yen da pon to banjung goyo nda yen te. Tene jo tamo yen. Ta kon no be ge nyamne se bala den yen. Ma jundro wa no ta do nyam be se ti mo wala pen to go yo ala. Te pen to per se pe ke ta tamo te kan de te na. Nisan mai par nyambrigaba chui mondo diga nyambrigaba to seni mondo nyambrigaba te imbe cherna tne cheper jinju go yon de ye ke tom de yon ma de ta de tne yapo jonda yang ka ka la khomi lodup sena khor nyamba ta de ju ke tiga nyu da de tne kurwata tne jing nyamba jon ta de jena te ta bu Korne be madon rupa na domande ni kepa sa ne domande maju par nyambriga pate te jedam ta thodo to naja go to maton ase domande ni kepa sa tembe jato to bala domande ni kepa sa sonje jetam bala jato se ne tombe chu tarwa tne chebar din jomala kare progress na domande ni kepa te sabaye.
This is the instruction for giving rise to Buddha activity. When we do practice, we need to achieve the perfect benefit for ourselves and for others. So the instructions on the great enhancement and on not straying and on severing distracted confusion, these are all for the benefit of ourselves. And for the perfect benefit of others, we also need instructions for the activity. So this is the oral instruction for giving rise to Buddha activity. We need to be able to bring benefit to others. And what is the benefit? What is the means to do this? It is to be able to rest with our minds undistracted rest with our minds undistracted in the nature of how things are, in the Dharma nature within the mind essence. If we are able to do this, then we will be able to perform a great activity. And when we perform activity, sometimes what happens is that when you are accompanied by a bad retinue, or when you associate with bad company, so when there are many people around you, people who create problems, people who criticize you, people who make obstacles, then this is the greatest instruction. To explain this instruction is profound. And sometimes when you want to serve the teachings, so instead of getting angry, reacting with pride or so forth, it is better to practice and to teach these instructions. And in order to serve the teachings, to explain this oral instruction is profound. In order for the Dharma to spread and for activity to flourish, what is most profound is to practice this instruction.
Khenpo karma sekite la tama de naore la minden tembe chepo la maina yon kama de tine chepartin jung ge mainam temba dana yon tama che pere tine ja chepo don tembe chepo tropo te la tine namba chaparito tama de tembe te bala tine namba chapate wa ko so na nam chapare la hati ke tama de kare temba se na chitang Chuji Jimbo na Gubajeta, Gadu on the Chair Gubajeta, Tenita Tejendo, Corning and Nepachar Gapsalino, Sano Inke, Sentinel Tendo Lete, Gobate, Kalsi Yobajeta, Tembato Senting, Trinituba Lion, Karibu, Sama Jubalela, Gobate, Kalcio Imba, the one temper Gasalino, Tagara, Tempa de Kalcio Imba.
And so these words of Khenpo Gangshar are a Dharma explanation, instructions for the one named karma. For my brother who has this name performs its meaning. May the Buddha activity be as pervasive as the sky. So these instructions were taught by the one named Gangshar Wangpo, and they were taught to someone named Karma, a Khenpo named Karma. So my brother, who has this name and fulfills its meaning, may Buddha activity be pervasive as the sky. So he has this name, he performs this activity, and the aspiration here is that may his activity be as pervasive as the sky. And so what are the instructions that were given? There are the instructions on suppressing the 8 worldly concerns, taking joy and displeasure as the path. The instructions on what to do when you are associating with bad company and how to relax within the nature of how the mind is. The instructions on how, in order to perform benefit for Buddhism and beings, it is important to rest relaxed without altering the nature of the mind. And so if we teach any oral instructions, it is important for us to teach exactly these instructions.